let's start with the zero question I have listed. I don't know
Okay.
why.
I'm up for
What
zero
do we
question.
think of the two main characters, the sisters? We can go in any different direction, really, with this. But what do you got for Jinx and Vi, their arc, their story, their
Can I take a
redemption
stab
with
at it?
each other? If you want to take it off, or take off with this question. go for it.
I feel like they are at the heart of the story. We are introduced in season 1, and I'm not going to refer to the games because I don't know as much about the games, but just purely the TV
there's
series.
no story
Okay.
in the games.
Well,
No
not
story.
like Chelsea has a little bit more knowledge than I do. So, but I would say like you're introduced to those two kids walking through battle fog over the bridge to find their dead parents.
When they try to,
When they do find their parents, they're gone, and this starts their origin story. And I think the last episode ends with the separation of those two sisters.
Yeah.
And we see them come together and go apart throughout the series. But I think those two characters are at the heart of what drives that story. Yeah, it has a lot of commentary on politics and human nature and lies and why people want power. But at the heart of it, it's Jinx / Powder and Vi, her sister.
Right.
And
a family member struggling with mental illness and identity.
Yep.
And then someone who doesn't really understand any of that at all. Like, she is trying, Vi, when she finally meets Jinx again after all those
she
years.
apologizes.
And she was like, I want to make this right away and stuff, but Powder's so damaged.
In the first season where they separate and Powder, inadvertently, spoiler alert, ends up killing 3 people. And because she was trying to help, and the sister, kind of violently comes after her. And then she does the right thing. She's like, okay, I'm too close to the situation. She goes for a walk. But the problem is the villain, one of the main villains of the series, steps in and she gets kidnapped and taken back to
she
prison
wasn't taking care of
for 5 or 6 years.
No, it's more than that. It's like 10
right?
years or something like that.
Okay, so they go from children to being, women by the next time we see them.
Yeah, the next time we see them,
and
adults.
the only thing Vi's been able to do is like train.
Yeah, she's been trapped in prison, so she's just been beefing up.
Yeah, she's just been like, there's nothing to do, so I'm gonna work out. And like you see that the issues of mental illness are still in her sister, but part of it is confronting that pain, that trauma she's never able to get over.
Right.
And you also have someone who's, mental illness. They're not in the right mind. It could be schizophrenic. It could be multiple personalities. Now it's, dissociative disorder.
Which could be
DID.
Jinx. She might have clinical schizophrenia because it's not necessarily a multiple personality disorder as people might think. It can be hallucinations.
Yeah, and that's what
she hears
experienced.
the voices of the people she killed.
Yes, they're
all
with
the time.
her. They're
all the time.
They're leaning on her shoulder through a lot of the
There's
animation.
a part where she's on the bridge before the cool part in season 1 that I mentioned, and she's watching Vi talk to the guards on the bridge.
Oh, that's right.
And the one kid who was mean to her, who she got killed, shows up as a giant shadow above her and like covers her. And it's like
almost
it
demonically.
represents kind of her feelings, like how much it controls her.
Well, and how much she is haunted by the past.
Right.
And haunted by, like Peter Parker. I made one mistake. I let this guy go because it's not my problem.
Yeah.
And it ends up haunting him.
Yeah.
And I feel like with her, where the difference is Peter Parker found purpose in saving people. Like Jinx just doesn't have that.
And they were her family. So it's way more damaging than,
Like you killed your brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go off of what you just said, Angie. I've got a little write-up here about Jinx. I only wrote about 3 characters, and Jinx was one of them. So I think my overall thoughts after finishing this is that Jinx is kind of a great example of how your identity can become a prison.
Ooh,
we see this fully illustrated when she's actually in prison, and Caitlyn confronts Jinx in season 2. Vi even says in that episode 8, I believe, who decides to get a second chance when Jinx is at her lowest because Isha just passed on and she did the self-sacrifice. Furthermore, Silco says this when Jinx is at her lowest point in that prison, which is, I believe, in the next couple
she's
scenes.
hallucinating him.
Yeah, she's hallucinating him. He says in quotes, we build our own prisons, bars forged of oaths, codes, commitments, walls of self-doubt and accepted limitation. We inhabit these cells, these identities, and call them us. I think I could break free by limiting those that I deem my jailers. And he says, anyway, I think the cycle only ends when you find the will to walk away. I may be thinking that was Silco.
Silco because she's hallucinating.
Yeah,
that's right.
With her hair now and everything.
And it was nice for him to come back and do the voice.
I know. I noticed that. I was like, oh hey.
Yeah. And I might be Man, my thing's not charging. I might be thinking too deeply into this dialogue and the writing of the show, but everything leading up to this is kind of shows this redemption arc for Jinx. But it also kind of serves as a commentary, I believe, this is just me, but a commentary for the modern idea of identity and how people latch onto things and use that as their crutch to behave however they like. I think of current movements where identity is pushed upon others and the idea of your identity is being tied to fickle things, especially people's opinions about you and what you're telling you who you are. This exemplifies exactly what Jinx has gone through. And I also want to comment on the ending where we see Jinx fall. It was all foreshadowed when Isha sacrifices herself. And this is shown again with Jinx at the end. It's really beautiful how it all goes.
So what was cool about in season 1 when it shows the girls after, like, as adults for the first time, and then you see Jinx is technically living with Silco the villain. He's a crime lord who sells drugs. And
he's become her surrogate father.
Yeah, what's kind of weird about that, but he tells her she's perfect that he instills in her the words like, you're perfect, you shouldn't change, I like the way you are. Even though she's broken and crazy and is a danger to him, like, she can kill him if she wanted. Like, that's how messed up she is, because she wouldn't know. It would be impulsive for her. But he still tells her, like, the last thing he says as she's dying, like, she accidentally shoots him. He's dying, and his dying words, usually people on their deathbed will say something like, I need to get something out before I
need to get something off my chest.
They compel the truth of how they actually feel, and the last thing he says is, you're perfect.
You're perfect.
Yeah, don't change who you are.
Well, and I think it's interesting that
he's a killer.
With his character, you don't really know what to think of him in season 1, and I thought season 2 did a really good job of fleshing out his character when you get the flashback to how both Silco and Vander, who loved each other like brothers and then, ended up kind of killing each other in a way, but that they were both friends with the mom, and the mom tells them that she's pregnant with Vi before she tells her own husband. And
in that, their friends
they all grew up together in the underside. And I think it's interesting because the mom, when she says, yeah, I'm knocked up, they both stop what they're doing and they both are attentive to her.
Woman.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because it's like, okay, you're going through something, I get it. So it's like Silco had that relationship with the mother,
right?
And
they both did.
They both did. They both loved the mother, and each of them raised her daughters in a sense.
Right. They weren't her father. Her father was Connell.
No, her father was.
He was a minor.
Minor.
They were all minors. But they were her friends before she got married or whatever.
Yeah. And what I think is so interesting is when Silco tells her she's perfect, he has to do this very painful thing where there's a needle that goes into his retina because the water he was in was toxic. And
when
it's
his
the only way
up,
to keep his blood from poisoning himself. And it's Jinx he always gives it to.
Yeah, he does the injection.
He wants her to do it. And it's painful and it's intimate. And it's like the most vulnerable he is. She has to stab this thing in his eye. And even when she's like in a manic episode and she's like, I don't know if I can trust you, he still gives her the needle. To do it. There are these little tells in his personality where it's like, yeah, he's ruthless. Yeah, he's running the underworld. And when he's gone, there's a vacuum. But at the same time, there is this other side to him. And I find that interesting about Silco's character. But I liked what you said, Chelsea, where it's all about he constantly edifies her. He constantly affirms her.
That's what's curious about him, because it's like he is a bad guy.
Yes.
Okay, but
he's running drugs.
But they make sure in the show that like his past, like he's been through pain. We're all been through some. Yeah. And in that case, it was his own brother trying to kill him because his brother had rage issues.
Well, and I think what's so interesting is the way they tried to kill him was to drown him in this toxic water. And when his eye got stabbed, he was able to fake death, get out of it. But then there's this scene in season 1 where he almost, it's like a baptism. You die, you resurrect.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
And there's a couple times they mention that, like it was my resurrection. I did things like
later,
that so
Silco
much.
does it to Jinx, like,
and
he
does
how
it to
I
Jinx.
got reborn. And
well, he also, I think, is doing that so she can have something to hold on.
Right,
to.
it was his way to move on.
It's for her benefit, not his.
Right.
And I feel like if he was just this cold-hearted killer, he wouldn't care about her feelings. But he cares about her feelings at every turn.
And that's where I'm questioning. I'm like, wait, is it just manipulation, though? Because she doesn't want to do what he tells her he needs her to do. Because she says, oh, I can't. I'm too overwhelmed. So he is like, is all the stuff he says and do just manipulation? You weren't in here, but on his deathbed, he does love her. Because he's you're perfect. I want you to know that before I die. Yeah. Even though you did this.
Well, he also knows she struggles with identity because she's been through all this crap.
Well,
You
she
know?
never healed from the trauma.
And she
She's
never
still
healed
stuck
from
in
it.
the
She's
trauma.
still like,
And of course, he's a bad guy, but also he doesn't know how to handle this with her. And so it's like a tragedy, but it all turns out okay with her, even through the tribulations. And it's cool because with her arc, and this is something I mentioned, I actually, side note, I had to do a training this semester for work. And of course, they have one in there about gender identity and all this kind of stuff.
Because people are still searching.
Yeah, and that's what I brought up is people are searching, but I think some of the best ways to kind of find yourself or dealing with your identity is actually investing in other people.
Yes.
And getting out of your comfort zone with that, because fellowship really does bring that, really does strengthen you. Even if you're introverted, it does strengthen you a lot. That's why even Christian people are out there and they say, I'm out of this church. I don't want to be part of church.
Yeah.
Fellowships, we are the church for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put
body.
in my training, I said, investing in other people is really important. And we get that in season 2 with her taking care of Isha, who's this mute little girl.
Yeah,
and she looks up to
fire.
her.
She's from the Explorers Guild, by the way.
Okay, yeah. And I don't know what that is, but she looks up to her and she's like, "Oh, you're so cool."
She kind of gave her
a
reason to live.
And she gave exactly. She gave her another reason to live.
Because Silco just died.
Because exactly.
Yeah, you learn that Jinx for a long time has been wanting to end her own life.
Yeah.
But that kind of got put on hold when Isha came into the play because she didn't know what she wanted. Jinx didn't know what she wanted to do anymore. She was wandering the streets, just kind of letting things happen. And then Isha came in to her life, and she was like, "Okay, let's have fun."
And
with
the
kid.
way in which Isha comes into her life is she's being chased by these really bad, sinister gentlemen from one of the guilds, and I forget which one it is.
They're
it's the one with the mouths and the metal.
Yeah, they're the augmentation guys. Their
do stuff to their own
gang
body.
specializes in like the business of the underworld.
Yeah.
So they're all extremely wealthy, and wealth is if you pay attention, they all have numbers on their foreheads.
Yes,
like they're an
because-
object.
Yeah, like that's the level in their organization. They're chasing her down because she's stolen something, or they're trying to get her. And
we don't know
Jinx
why
is
they're
just
chasing
wandering, and Isha falls right on top of her.
Yeah.
And
literally
later,
falls on top.
and Jinx kills when her hood comes back and they see that it's Jinx. She kills them all in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And she says, "You ever feel that buzzing behind your head?" She goes, like, "That's the best, right in your eyes. Like everything just might end at any moment." And she goes, "That's the best feeling in the world."
Right. That's what she's dealing
That's
with.
what she's dealing with. And what's interesting is she even tells Isha later, and Isha can't talk, but she can understand her. She says, "You woke up parts of me that in my brain." And, she's still wrestling with the voices, but after Isha's in her life, it gives her an opportunity to heal, because there's post-traumatic stress that stops you in your tracks. That can be a disorder. But then there's post-traumatic progression, which is kind of what Vi did, where instead of it stopping you and you can't go forward, you use it as a positive force. And Vi's like, "I'm stuck in this prison. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back. And
She's
I'm
like,
going to take out the person who killed Vander."
Wait, yeah.
And so she kind of uses post-traumatic progression. She uses the stuff she's been through to spur her forward, and Jinx finally gets there.
So
That's another way they're polar opposites.
Yeah.
So where I want to take this next is let's dive into Vi.
Okay.
And then we'll go into that. We'll go into something else after that. So Vi, what are our thoughts on her? We have
sister.
Jinx, the younger sister, Vi, the older sister. They are siblings, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the flash before season 2, people thought that Jinx was adopted, but she's not. In the flashbacks, when they're trying to make Vander human again, he's remembering their mother, and there's a shot of her pregnant, and Vi is touching her tummy.
You remind me of Beauty and the Beast.
Well,
Just Vander singing that. Be human again.
oh,
Rawr.
No, thank you. There's enough music in Arcane. Thank you.
We don't need it
I don't
anymore.
need any more.
I wanted
no.
to mention that later.
We'll get into that. But Vi, what do we think of
She's
her?
tough.
Her journey.
I feel
She's a big,
She's a
beautiful
badass.
pink lady.
I feel like whereas Jinx is signified by that color of blue, which is very water-like, it's very fluid, it's very moody, it's very unstable. You don't know which way it's going to go next. Vi is the opposite. She's a fire kind of sign.
Right. She has to keep moving.
She has to keep moving. There is something that drives her. And when we see her at her lowest point, after losing Caitlyn, after
she
suffering
goes full,
this loss.
like grunge emo.
Yeah, she goes grunge
That's
emo
a really
and,
cool montage of her fighting in the pit.
well, and how she has nothing to live for. She has nothing to live for.
Right.
She's at her lowest point. And it's funny because it's Jinx. Even the soldier, and I forget what his name is, the one that finds her in the street and they drink.
Morris,
together. Yeah.
I think he's I don't know this for sure. I think he's a playable character.
I'm pretty sure he probably is, but even
I know, they
every
put a lot of
night he
emphasis on
helps
this
her
guy.
back to her room so she doesn't get hurt. Nobody steals from her.
Yeah, this is the meme here. Chelsea sent
I
this to
said
me.
that to Jake.
Yes, I know.
It's like she looks fine after all these traumatic events. It's like 1 month in a lesbian relationship.
She's all dark.
And that's one of the jokes about a lesbian relationship. There's always an
She's
ex.
a stereotypical
Because there's because there's not many lesbians.
No,
so
I know,
when you go
I
back
know.
to visit your person, you're gonna meet their exes.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting about her character is she's very strong. She's very tough.
Yeah, physically.
But I love physically, but I love what Vander tells her. He goes, you can't punch your way out of every situation.
Oh yeah,
And
he's
that's
such a good dad.
That's how, well, he has that spirit of a father that wants to father her and put her in the right direction because he knows I'm not always going to be here for these kids. And I think what's interesting is she does. I mean, when she loses everything and she's at her lowest point, basically she tries to punch her way out of the situation. I'll just go do fights for money. And that's what I'll do. And the problem is that's not going to satisfy you because you just became Jinx and didn't deal with your trauma. And it's funny how they switch places. Isha makes Jinx more like Vi, and Vi becomes more like Jinx when she doesn't have any.
Well, also, you notice after Jinx adopted Isha, she started acting normal.
Yes.
Like she wasn't just crazy. Like in season 1, she is crazy. And then in season 2, suddenly she's acting kind of normal. Like she's acting depressed in ways that she should be. She's talking normally. She's talking less to invisible people. They're still there, but she's talking less out loud to them.
Well, and I also think, I remember I had a student one time whose husband was killed in front of her. A car hit him in front of their house. And she was writing about something in her essay, and she was an older lady at the time. She was in her 40s, 50s. And she said, that happened 20 years ago. My son's 17 now. And she goes, my son was 5 days old when that happened. And I asked her, I said, so what did you do to get past it? She goes, I volunteered in hospitals in the children's burn ward.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I would read stories to these kids that were just in this excruciating pain. And I looked at what they were going through and what I was going through. And what got me through it was realizing there are other people that are hurting besides myself. And she's like, that's how I got past the trauma. And it was ironic because she hadn't married anyone since her husband died. And she met someone in one of the classes at UVA and they were getting married that semester.
Oh, cool.
So it was just kind of neat. She was going on with her life, but she goes, when you can do things that make you forget your own hurt and you help other people.
That's the autopilot thing about us. We immediately forget that it's not all about us.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when you get stuck in that grief or that sadness or that depression, you really are stuck because it's really narcissistic. It's all about you. You're just grieving. It's all about me. And it's okay to have a season. Just don't stay in that season.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I brought up the thing with Jinx, because I think you could tie it to a commentary on modern society and why and how to deal with grief or how to process things, especially what would affect your identity, because it is a loss of a parental figure from these girls at the end of episode 3 in the season 1. That triggers all of this. We have the setup and we see who they are as kids. And you see these tendencies like, man, this could end badly, and you see it end badly. And it's the worst possible outcome for them. But then to see their journey after that is even more fascinating.
Yeah.
Because after we watched the first 3 episodes, when you guys first showed it to me, I was like, well, wait, they're all older? Well, I kind of want to see them as kids, like go through, more adventures. Yeah, but there's a reason for it all. So
well, and I think with Jinx, it's so neat because she becomes a parent in a sense.
Yeah.
And that's what saves her, having this other person.
It gave her something to live for.
It gave her purpose. And even after Isha's gone, she's still dealing with the voices. She's still dealing with the grief, but she's in a way better place than she was in season 1.
When Isha dies, like you see the montage of like them playing
the
together.
Sisterhood that they've had. Yeah.
It's like,
well, and it's interesting. The reason Isha dies is she realizes nobody's going to stop this creature. He's going to kill the people I love. This is my new family. And she's like, if there's something that needs to be paid, let me pay it.
And she probably knew that Vi or Jinx would never do it.
Well, and
because they believed he could still
when
be
you
saved,
look at it, Jinx is wounded and she's not moving and Vander's moving towards her. And I think
he's in a rage.
And Isha's response, I think it was the episode before that, like they're having this meeting and somebody comes in and it's that big guy and Bessa hires. And, and Isha just jumps right on his head. She goes for the biggest, baddest dude.
He was awesome.
And she's like, I'm going to beat him with this little tiny kid.
And then it zooms in on his face and he's like unfazed and she's like punching him.
Yeah, I know. Well, but that's it. She takes on this monster that nobody else can stop because that's their dad.
Yeah.
And he's
no
just
one could do it.
Yeah, and so she does it, and that wink she gives Jinx as she's going to shoot him, and it's going to end her life in this explosion. It's kind of like, well, and she closes her eyes, like she's ready for it. Yeah. She's at peace. Like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to go down fighting.
And what? She's like 6 or 7? She's
a
really little kid.
But I think it's so beautiful. It's because she found that love and she found that belonging and she found purpose in a family. And I liked what you said earlier, Jake, when you were like, sometimes, it's about helping other people. And I feel like that's because in this life, we're not meant to do it alone. We're meant for fellowship. We're meant for discipleship. We're not meant to do it by ourselves. I mean, God can help you, but you need to find your worth in relationship to other people within, and from a Christian perspective, within God's kingdom.
Yeah, within God's kingdom.
Yeah, and it's like the body of Christ. I mean, there's butts in the body of Christ, but we all need them. It's like, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
All right, so I think with Vi, the only thing I would say for her is, she has this headstrong character, but headstrong characterization, but she's the leader of it all. And so there's a reason why she's put in the position she's in. And she's far, at least to me, a little less interesting than Jinx. And we get more development, I would argue, with Jinx anyway, especially in the alternate universe episode.
Oh, gosh. So good.
Which I do want to have a full discussion on that just toward the end. But
I think maybe we should do that next.
Maybe do a mini-sode of Snarp Fangle for it.
No, we're just going all
okay.
But
you need to break it up.
Next,
along that, just to what you said, I think it's interesting because both of them step into leadership roles, but in different positions.
Yeah.
Vi is filling Vander's empty seat, and Jinx is filling Vander's empty throne.
Yeah.
And they both kind of step into those leaders. Like both of these girls that we've watched from the beginning, from this tragic beginning, they're the impotence for why this happens.
Yeah.
They're what moves the story forward. And I feel like both of them have their importances. Both of them have their flaws, but it's interesting how they overcome those flaws. Yeah.
I would cap it with saying that you had I can't remember who said it, but the best descriptor of the show was if Luke and Leia were enemies.
If they had grown up on opposite sides.
Yeah, if they were on opposite sides. That would be
interesting.
I want a Star Wars what if, or if that.
Like Disney should totally do that.
Luke goes with
the dark side.
The dark side. And
Leia's raised
with
in
the
the light.
Republic.
Disney Plus should totally do that. They should have the What If Marvel's team do it. But Star Wars.
They did some great work. Okay.
All right, let's get into...